We are building the privacy compliance program for Indian businesses. We test based upon the privacy principle called consent. Today we will get into some more details about consent management, how the DPDP Act looks at it, and tomorrow we will discuss it further. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And as I said, we are going to talk about consent management in this video and in the subsequent video. So what have you already looked into when we talk of privacy compliance program? We actually talked about what the program itself is, what is the importance of the program. We spoke about creating a privacy team for the organization, internal, external, third party, outsourced, depending on the size of the organization. We also spoke about mapping of the information that we have collected or stored in our organization and mapping it with the processes, the way it is being processed and used, so that looking at those processes we can try and understand if there are any possibility of a breach or any risk of a breach. We talked about these basic privacy principles, that we would define the purpose of collecting the information or purpose of storing the information that we have already collected. We will collect only what is required for the purpose, as minimum as required for the purpose. We will take a proper consent, granular consent as per Indian DPDP Act for each line item. What service are we giving for the purpose? We talked about creating an internal document called privacy policy, telling our organization how we are expected to or what are our commitments to our principles, and a privacy notice to the outside world as to how we are going to handle their personal data. We then moved on to the various rights assigned by the Indian DPDP Act and vendor management. What clauses should be there while performing vendor management? Grievance redressal system, escalation points, data protection board, security of data, the confidentiality, integrity and availability of data. We spoke about the incident management and its best practices, and then the last couple of videos we spoke about privacy impact assessments. Now we are getting into some details about the consent management in this video, and then a bit more in tomorrow, next video. So what is consent management? Consent management is a process where you are obtaining the principal's permission with respect to the processing that you are going to do for him. So when you go ahead and ask for any personal information, you should let the other person know, let the principal know, why do you need this personal information? What is the purpose of it? Explain in as much of detail as possible and mark the purpose of each of the data points that you are collecting in a granular form. I need your address for this purpose. I need your phone number for this purpose. I need your email ID for this purpose. And that's a requirement under DPDP Act, that the consent manager has to provide an option to do a granular consent thing. Seek the permission to process based upon the purpose. Right? I would ask you, request you to tell me what do you want me to do. Record the permission that you have already taken, and this entire process of taking the permission, recording it, keeping it, making it granular point by point is actually called consent management. The word consent is for taking the permission. So it should be registered, the consent manager of your organization should be registered with the data protection board. That means that the consent management is not an internal function as per DPDP Act. There would be organizations who specialize in consent management would get registered with data protection board. Okay, and then that organization, you can hire that organization to be your consent manager, and they would fulfill the role of a consent manager. So what is the role is something that we are discussing in this video. Consent needs to be shown or provided when there is a dispute. If a principal comes in and says, I never asked you to process my information like this, then you can show the consent. Why it is important? Because we want to make sure that the processing of information is transparent, known properly to the respective principal. The principal is able to control it. The principal's rights are taken care of, and they are able to control which portion of data they want to process. We talk about this in a lot of my videos. That let's pick up the same example of marketing. I take your phone number, email ID and address, and then I say I'll call you or send you messages on new offers. You say yes, I'm okay. Given, consent given. I will send you emails on new offers. You say yes, okay, consent given. I'll I'll send you brochures at your home by post, and you say, no, I don't want paper at my home. So you've not given the consent to send physical documents to my home. Right? Granular options, but no consent for sending the physical documents at home. That's how it needs to be handled. Consent management helps you manage compliance, ensures purpose is communicated, because if you are taking a granular consent, that means you communicated the purpose properly, and you are also empowering the principal to withdraw the content as and when he wants to. Then comes the function of a consent manager. He has to facilitate the collection of consent. He has to provide you with an access to your information along with a provision to withdraw your consent. I don't want my information to be processed any further. Okay, take your consent back. Manage the usage and audit rates of the consent. When was it provided? For what all options it was provided? Where all was it used? And if it was withdrawn, right, then the information about withdrawal as well. So the consent manager has to keep a record of the consent, provide you with a dashboard, and keep a record of consent withdrawn as well, so that when compliance needs any information, then the consent manager can open up his toolkit and give and provide all the consent related information to the board or to the fiduciary as required. Consent management by Indian law is a facilitator of consent between the fiduciary and the data principal. So that's about the basic of consent management with respect to Indian DPDP Act 2023. I hope you like the content of the video. Please press the bell and like icon, subscribe to my channel, and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.